Four Stories by T. Susan Chang, An Elemental Approach to the Tarot. This is a book that came out earlier this year, 2025. I think it came out in January, and it came out at around the time that I was making a review of 36 Secrets, her previous book. And just before I start my review of Four Stories, I just want to show you how cool these two look side by side on the shelf. It looks very, very nice indeed. If you haven't seen my review of 36 Secrets, go and check that out straight away, and then come back to see my review of Four Stories. So Four Stories is her overall theory of tarot, which is fantastic. And folks, if you don't know T. Susan Chang, do go and check out her amazing podcast, which I'll link down below. She's one of the greats in terms of tarot, and I really, really appreciate her approach here. So she has... she suggests that the whole tarot can be divided up into elemental stories, and that very much you could say, like the I Ching is a book about how one situation naturally leads to another situation. In the tarot, you can just follow the story of fire and the story of water and the story of air and the story of earth, right? And the cards that represent the entire story are Judgment for fire, and then the Hanged Man for water, then the Fool for air, and then the Earth for world. And it kind of makes sense that this kind of blows out into three signs, three zodiacal signs, right? The cardinal fire sign of Aries, the fixed fire sign of Leo, and the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius. And that's the case for all of the elemental signs, of course. And then each of those zodiacal signs blows out into, let me just change the camera here, blows out into further pip cards, right? That further just describe what one situation leads to. And so what Susan's done here is that she's given us those stories quite simply, and in ways that are really very, very nice. You know, I really appreciate the I Ching's approach to one situation naturally leading to another, you know, and everything being in constant change. But what Susan suggests here is that if you are in a particular situation and you're hoping to get into another situation, by finding the cards, first of all, the story within which your particular situation fits, and then by finding the situation in which you'd like to be and finding the steps in between, you can get a perfect path, right? And I really, really like this approach. It's a very magical approach. It's a very, self-empowering approach. And I like that she gives a full description of how to use the book in the early pages over here. So each of the four elements has its own section in this book. As you navigate through each section, you'll see that there's a consistent structure you'll encounter each time. There'll be a map of the correspondences between the major and minor arcana of each element. And I've given you an overview of that map, and you kind of zoom in on a particular aspect of the map at the beginning of each chapter. And then you get the overview. We'll talk about some of the archetypal imagery, and the lore surrounding each element and how they appear in the ace of the suit. And then you get the elemental and zodiacal major arcana, in which Susan walks you through the trajectory of each element, and how each element splits in three, how the story of Judgment begins with the Emperor, continues with Strength, and ends with Temperance, etc., right, for the various elements. And then zodiacal minor arcana here will tell the stories of each of the zodiacal major arcana as expressed through its three minor arcana. So you can think of these minor arcana associated associated with each major arcana like a chapter of that particular story, right? So you can think of this as the overall collection, okay, and then this one as a volume or a tome, okay, and then over here will be a chapter in that particular volume, and then each story has 3 volumes, and each volume has got 3 chapters. I love this so much. So there we go. And then the court cards here will talk about how each of the court cards combines the qualities of the 4 elements to form a unique and coherent personality. And then finally, the tarot arithmetic and spreads some practical ways that you can work with the cards of each element for divination and magic. So if I just skip to the end over here to the final word, I just want to give you an idea of how practical this book is, how useful it is, how there are so many of these books that are just about theory, and it's theory that you can live without, really. But this is so practical. Look at this. If the person is drawing a lot of swords or the Fool, Justice, Star, or Lovers cards, it's an air story. To be honest, the most symptomatic statement I hear from folks pulling air cards is, "I'm just exhausted," right? So, you hear these things and you can guess, you can get a feel for what story this person is currently living through, and then you can draw from what naturally happens in that story, and what the steps are and what the natural outcomes are. Oh, I really, really enjoyed this, and it's so pleasant to read. Susan's got such a personal style, such an intelligent, personable, conversational style. It's just wonderful, and you can tell, she's writing from experience. She's writing from a perspective of deep knowledge of the tarot, not just surface knowledge or intuitive knowledge. This is coming from a place of significant research. I have thoroughly enjoyed reading 4 stories by T. Susan Chang. There we go. That's my very, very short review of 4 stories, An Elemental Approach to the Tarot. Do check out the link to buy this down below. I will leave that in the description, of course, as always. Now, when I bought this, it was only available to purchase on lulu.com. I will check to see if it's available on Amazon before leaving links. If it is available on Amazon, then I'll obviously leave some Amazon associate links. I just want to say thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you'd like to have a one-to-one conversation with me, then there is always an option to do that. There are links to do that down in the description. I can give you some book recommendations. I can give you some hints on your own spiritual path. I can read your tarot, for example, and we can have a conversation about your own practice and about what good steps you could possibly take. If you'd like to support the channel, of course, the best way is always to join the Patreon. So thank you very much to all of you who have done that. I hope you're all having a great day, morning, evening, whatever time of day it is. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'll see you soon with another video. Bye-bye.